Okay, this part really isn't in the manual, but I think this is a good time to go ahead and do this while everything's kind of apart. I like putting some sort of protection on top of all my exposed steel surfaces. I use this Top Saver. I know some people like Bow Shield and all different. There are multitude of different types out here. I bought this when I first started doing my shop. I still have the original bottle. It came in a kit in a box like this, and I bought it at Woodcraft. I really haven't had a problem with rust. I am on the East Coast. I do have humidity, temperature swings, and the only thing really protecting my shop from the outdoors is a garage door, which isn't really, sealed to the best. And I have yet to have a problem with rust. So I'm going to continue using it until it fails me for some reason. But I think now is a good time to just kind of go ahead and kind of apply this stuff. It just basically says to, work it in real good with a Scotch-Brite pad. Stuff kind of smells like butt, but it does the job. I'm just going to continue to go ahead and work it in. I think it's just easier because the fence is off and everything to just go ahead and do it now. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to work this in. Okay, we're on the underside here, and there's screws. Now these, well, it's not really a screw, it's like a stud that comes out of the bottom of the joiner base. Now the directions say to put a flat washer there, but I didn't have enough flat washers, so I looked through the rest of the manual and I found that there were enough lock washers, and they weren't used anywhere else in the manual. So I think they switched to lock washers to hold it a little tighter, which would make sense in this application. So basically the lock washer will go on, right? It's right on. All right. I'm not going to tighten them completely down because I want to be able to adjust the bed and the pulley with the motor and everything. So there's a little bit of play there for that. So I just want to get them up there and just snug them up so they don't really come off. I'll put the other two on. What we're going to do is we're going to put on the V-belt now on the top, and we're going to raise the motor so that it fits down here. All right. So the motor assembly is on now, but one thing we have to check is that this pulley and this pulley are perfectly lined up, so there's no twist in this belt at all. This belt should run straight up and down with no angle to it whatsoever. So that's double check. We'll make sure that's lined up nice and good, and when it is, I'll tighten down all the bolts, the bed, the motor, and everything. I think one of the best ways to check to see if this is straight is just to go ahead and sight down. And I really don't think we're very straight here. Pull the bed towards me a little, and I think we're much truer now. I think we're good. I'm going to go ahead and tighten everything down. Okay, one of the things, you have to pick the back of the motor up a little, which will straighten out the pulley. And the reason being is just the pulley and the weight of the motor shifts it. When you tighten it down, you got to kind of level it out a little. Not that big of a deal, just something I think you should be aware of. Okay, we're on step 20 and 21. Step 20 is to put the front faceplate onto the thing. Step 20 is to come from behind and put in this switch, right? I'm actually going to combine the two because it seems a little easier for me. So what I'm going to do is put the switch in now, right? Come here. Now, I will go ahead and put all the screws in before I tighten them all down. Okay, so the next step is to go ahead and just put on the dust shroud, right? It just goes on the side like this. Screws in, 4 screws, holds it in place. And then what I'll be doing is right here, I'll be go ahead and mounting my Dust Right quick connect to it so I can plug the hose right in. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach that. 4 screws. This little shelf is to hold the push pads. Right, they come wrapped in these bags. That way. To do it. Now, if you look at the back, you'll have slots. So I'm going to start. Now, some of these screws are a little hard to get started, right? And they're really tight, like this one here, all right? And the reason being is they tap the holes and then they paint the panel. So there's a little bit of paint in there. And basically, what you're doing is you're kind of with this screw, just sort of re-tapping that paint out. So it's a little tight, but nothing really to worry about too much. And now, this should be able to slide right over like that, right? I'll go ahead and tighten them down. They have holes right here that you tighten these down. And one more. Right down there. Go ahead and tighten them down. We can move on to the next step. Okay, here's my fence. It's upside down. On this post here, they put this nut. I'm going to go ahead and take this on. It was like that. Came in the package that way. And there's a washer. Okay, and I'm going to remove those. Now, this post here, right, is how this fence attaches to the joiner. So I'm going to go ahead and take this over to the joiner table. Not going to tighten it all the way down, though. Just enough to keep it from coming off. Okay, so I came back up. I just wanted to make sure the fence was sitting correctly. I also want to make sure that we're in this keyway so I don't damage the bed. Now that that's done, I can go ahead and tighten up. Okay, adjustment bar. Go in like this, screws up. There's a flat spot here you can get the small wrench on and tighten it down. Okay, the next step to go ahead and install the angle lever to adjust the bed angle. Now, it's basically the other post that came in the bag with the one for the one that matches this. Just go ahead and I'll just give it a little turn and tighten it in. So that's just there. You loosen up this lever over here, and you can adjust the angle of the bed. The next step is that we take this belt guard here. That just, keeps anything from getting caught on that. You take your last two remaining bolts, flat washer, a nut. You attach those and tighten them down. Really not much to it. Okay, so we're ready to put the back panel on. First thing we need to do is feed through the power cord through the square plate on this thing. And feed through this attachment plate. Okay, so this plate here screws in right there, and like we did the front, we're going to go ahead and do that. Actually, we're going to wait on that until it's up and into place. So go ahead and we'll attach this. This attaches the same way as the front did. You just put these screws in and tighten everything down. So we'll go ahead and do that, and we'll catch up once I get all these screws in. You go ahead and I'll just tighten down the two screws here. Okay, next we're going to mount this guard assembly. It mounts to these two screws here. A nice feature, I've seen some of these on older models where you would have to adjust this or it didn't exist at all. Here, it's just on a spring, so it'll always kind of stay back there and guard it, no matter where this fence is. Nice little touch. Doesn't cost much to do, but is kind of an added peace of mind. I don't plan on sticking my hands back here much, except for adjustments. And when I'm doing those adjustments, the blade should be off anyway. You should never do it with the blade spinning. So I'm just going to pull these screws out. Go ahead and stick this plate down. Basically, it is a washer and the screw. Both were already in this piece. There's some room for adjustment in these, but we'll go ahead and just tighten them down and test out the mechanism. Right? So no problem there. Basically, I'll screw in the handle. Just screws all the way up. As far as you can get it. There we go. And then I'll take... Now, I didn't have a supplied wrench for this, so I actually had to go ahead and put my own. There we go. Okay. Basically, there's a washer and a screw here. And take it off, and I'll put the hand wheel up on it. It's pretty self-explanatory. I didn't see it in the book, so, but I'll show the step here. I don't know if they skipped over it or I missed it, but we'll go ahead, tighten that down. There we go. Yeah, so the next thing to go on, the thing that looks like a leaf here, is the blade guard. Now, on the back, on the post, already mounted is this screw. Right, so we're just going to go ahead and put this screw off. And we're just going to drop it down. Drop it down. And go ahead and just put this screw in. So when this screw goes all the way in, what it will do is wedge this out and hold everything together. Now we'll come on top and make the adjustment. I'm going to take the whole back fence assembly and move it out of the way to get that as far back as possible. And then what I'm going to do is move this thing one counterclockwise revolution. That's going to tension the spring down here, right? And now that that's held there, you can loosen up, move the fence back on its keyway, right? So it's back where it is, and now the guard has spring tension and will always come back as you feed wood through. It'll bring it back to that position. So, added safety, always put the safety features on. Okay, and if you are any sure about any of this at any time, safety-wise, you need to go ahead and either contact Grizzly, stop what you're doing until you feel safe and you know that everything is set up correctly. So there we go, we have the assembly. Now we're moving into the tuning up and getting ready and making adjustments so this is a usable, workable machine. Construction was kind of straightforward. It took me 2 days, but I taped everything. You could really get this done in probably an afternoon. Everything was straightforward. I didn't run into any problems. The only things that were a little bit of a concern were the fact that all the painted surfaces that had tapped holes, the screws were a little hard to get into because of the paint buildup in there. You with a little muscle you could get through. I kind of used the bolts more of like a tap. Go in, I'd back out and go in. You could definitely re-tap them if you'd like. But all in all, I mean, that wasn't too bad. All the parts were here, all the stuff. I do got a couple leftover screws and a washer. I hope they're extra. I imagine they put a couple extra in there. But it's not really too bad of a machine. I'm pretty happy. I'm definitely glad I didn't go with the Model Up that was higher, that I was originally planning to get. The reason being is my shop is very small, one-car garage. And when I went to Muncie. Grizzly has a showroom up there. I went up there for the tent sale, knowing that I was going to buy new if I couldn't find anything. I got there a half hour late, so I didn't quite, all the good stuff, at least that I was looking for, was gone. But I came home with this brand new joiner and a brand new lathe, and I'm very happy with both, though I haven't powered this up yet. But I think for my money, I got something that I can be proud of. I'm not Mr. Moneybag, so I can't afford a lot of high-end tools. So I can afford the tools that can fit in my shop. Yeah, I mean, it would be much better to have an 8 or a 10-inch joiner. It's just not possible for me. So this is better than how I was doing it, which was with hand planes. Now, I can still do that. Basically, I flatten one side using a cambered blade in my number 5, or sometimes in my joiner plane, and I just flatten it enough that I can run it through my 12-inch bench top planer. So you don't really have to go that route. You don't always need, but it doesn't look good Like the surface isn't great when I run it through, but it sits flat, and that's all that matters, and then you flip it over and clean it up. So having a 6-inch is going to handle the majority of my work, but not all of it, and I knew that buying it.